Years in the game, I'm tired of playing a dipshit's game. If you are like us, where we've been to all the masterminds, all the meetings, paid for all the coaching, breakout room after breakout room and whatever, and it just kind of hit me where I was like, man, this is the same problems at every single mastermind, the KPIs and what marketing channel and what strategy we're using, but it's all the same fundamental issue, which was none of us had ownership of the property from the beginning. Right underneath my nose, which was buying the deed, right, and then figuring out problem. What made me stop wholesaling is I was just on a hamster wheel. Like I built the second largest company on the East Coast back in the day in 2021 for wholesaling, which was awesome, but it wasn't even worth it. We really didn't make that much money. And the headaches that came with it just were not worth it.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us for today's episode of Disruptors. Today we have William Denis with ReverseFlip, and William flew in from Boca Raton to talk about how they're buying 5 to 7 properties every single day. It's crazy. Crazy numbers. Wow. Guys, I'm on a mission to create 100 millionaires. The information on the show alone is enough to help you become a millionaire in the next 5 to 7 years. If you'll take consistent action, you will become one. And if you get value out of today's show, please hit that subscribe button. That way we can all grow together. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So it wasn't that long ago. I think about 2 years ago, you were on the show.
Yeah.
Some things have changed
just a little
in the last couple of years, right? So what are some of the biggest changes that have happened since we last met here?
A lot. So I'm out of wholesaling.
Out of wholesaling.
Yeah.
Some people might turn off right here.
That's cool. if you tune in though, you're gonna learn how to make a lot of money and easier, right?
Right.
The biggest thing is I created a strategy. It's called reverse flipping, or reverse flip. Right? We trademarked it. Basically, for 5 years since 2019, I was buying deeds to properties, not tax deeds, but just directly from sellers. And
since 2019?
Yeah, that was my first deed I ever bought. A mentor of mine said, you don't own the dog till you name it. So I finally named it, and there comes reverse flip. But basically, we ran into an issue in 2019. This is kind of like where it all started, where it was such a problem property. There was nothing you could do with it, like no wholesale. It was 2 mortgages, bankruptcies.
So hang on before we go on, because I think this is all important stuff, right?
Yeah.
And this gets to how we're buying
start hot.
5 to 7 properties a day.
Yeah.
But before that, some big news here.
Yeah.
Stopped wholesaling.
Yeah.
Right? And then I know, like, on my own social media, I've talked about how I've stopped buying houses.
So I've heard.
Right? And that caused some, what was the word? Not drama, intrigue, right? There are people that were interested in it.
Sure.
So you stopped marketing for wholesaling.
Yep.
What led to that?
In a simple answer, 8 years in the game, I'm tired of playing a dipshit's game. That's it.
That's it.
If you are like us, where we've been to all the masterminds, all the meetings, paid for all the coaching, breakout room after breakout room and whatever, I think it just hit me one day, and necessity is the mother of all invention. And it just kind of hit me where I was like, man, this is the same problems at every single mastermind with the KPIs and what marketing channel and what strategy we're using. But it's all the same fundamental issue, which was none of us had ownership of the property from the beginning.
Right.
So it was right underneath my nose, which was buying the deed, right, and then figuring out problem property. What made me stop wholesaling is I was just on a hamster wheel. Like I built the second largest company on the East Coast back in the day in 2021 for wholesaling, which was awesome, but it wasn't even worth it. We really didn't make that much money. Yeah. And the headaches that came with it just were not worth it.
Let's see. I want to say there was a mastermind I ran personally, right? I ran my own mastermind for a bit. I shut it down. And we had Ryan Pineda, Pace, Jamil, Brent Daniels, all these other guys. Carlos Reyes was in there. Pretty fortunate, right, with the friends I have.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like an all-star team.
Right? Much like what we had with Supergroup, right? So I had like my own little deal. And and this is before we all kind of like got up to where we're at today. And I remember Jared Vidalis was in there. Do you know Jared?
Yeah.
Right?
Not well, but I know him.
But he made the comment like, guys, I'm tired. And this is 2020, right? He's like, I'm tired. And I was like, what does this mean? He's like, I've been going so hard since like 2018, which is only like 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? But he's like, I've been going so hard, right, and I don't own anything. Right? So like, I need to figure something out different. So like, I'm owning all these things. And like, since then, I think he's been buying himself like 5 to 10 sub-2s a month. Like, I feel like this whole time. right? So he's just got this gigantic portfolio in the Phoenix market, and he just wholesales whatever he doesn't want to keep. But he's been doing stuff too this whole time.
Yeah.
So, but what stuck out to me in that meeting, again, this was 2020, was like this idea, and we're all young, was wholesaling as a young man's game.
It is.
Right.
And I think it's, look, I will forever say I'm very grateful to, finding wholesaling, right? Like Sean Terry's podcast back in the day, that's how I found out. 2017 is when I got in. 6 months before that, I was trying to, that whole try, right, thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's a starting point. I think it's a nice leapfrog.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know what I compare it to, Steve? Compare it to like bartending, right? The nightlife industry. I think that has a shelf life. When you're in college and when you're like, oh, man, I'm making easy money, right? And like you stay out late and you do your thing, it's great. But that industry has like a black hole, concept to it.
Right.
Where you'll meet someone who's 40 years old, and again, no offense towards anybody, but it's like, damn, you never got out. And I feel like I was running into people. I'm 33 now. When I got started, I was 25. I was running into people. I'm like, holy shit, this person's 50 years old, and we're still wholesaling. Like, there's got to be a better way. And I knew that wasn't for me. I like wanted to build up a big just a lot of ownership, and I just always thought differently. So I think wholesaling is great. You can start that way. It's a cash machine. That's what it is. Doesn't take a lot of effort, for a hustler. You can certainly make multiple six figures, but at a certain point, you have. For me, wholesaling was like, all right, this is going to be the step in to step up.
Right. Well, and look, again, just like you're talking about wholesaling, I think wholesaling has been great. It's been great for you. It's been great for me.
Yeah.
Right. So like, there's nothing wrong with wholesaling. It's just we don't start wholesaling to stay in wholesaling.
No.
We start wholesaling so we can buy assets, that cash flow or whatever, something you can sell, whatever.
Yeah.
So no one says I want to be a wholesaler for 20 years.
No.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I know guys that do, like, I know guys that they're like, yo, I love what I do. I'm like, God bless you.
Yeah. But no one said like, I want to do it for 20 years.
No, you don't. No, I've never.
Right. Like, I wholesale as a career. Like no one says that.
Well, you look at all of our friends group that we have a lot of similar friends, right? That are big boys, whatever, and girls. We've all come up kind of through there. Everybody had a different path, right? Everybody had a different journey, but we've all kind of come up through there. And what they're doing now, very different. Is wholesaling. And again, to be fair and 100% transparent, some of my transactions fit within a reverse flip. The exit is a wholesale. We will wholesale those, but I do not wholesale like, hey, I run $100,000 a month marketing budget and I watch my KPIs and do this, and so many deals to contract and all that crap. We don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. So you decided you got to change. And then what was the first thing you did when you decided you were going to change?
So this is back in, so again, I bought my first deed in 2019. 2022, as you know, I bought out my ex-partner. And that's around the time where I was here. And it's funny, when I was here, this is like the same time frame that I was kind of figuring this whole thing out. It took a little while, right? I'd taken some L's on the chin, and I was like, dude. And I remember asking myself a question, and I was even talking to my girlfriend about it. I was like, do I really want to rebuild this shit again with 20 plus people and $100K a month? And the answer to everything is, well, you got to spend more money to get more leads, right? Like that crap. And at that point, the answer was always no. Like I just knew it was no. So I was like, man, we got to figure out a different way. So 2022, I ended up with like 20 something deeds from that partnership split. And these are deeds that we had bought throughout the years.
Explain to me what kind of deeds you had.
Just quick claim deeds, the properties, basically. This is all Florida at the time. And basically, it was sellers that we ran into through our normal course of marketing that did not fit a wholesale, a novation, a flip, or any of these models. And you would call them hairy deals, right? Some people would call them shit shows. Some people, whatever it is, right?
Most of our off-market deals are pretty hairy. So this is even more hairy.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. This is like the valedictorian of the hair. So, that when that situation arose, we were like, all right, well, let's just make them an offer to buy the deed. Because these people just want it out. Right? And we're talking about, like, just to get some examples for your audience, bankruptcies, IRS liens, upside down properties, double, triple mortgages, code violations with debt, heirs that inherited a reverse mortgage property, right? So if any of this is sounding familiar, like that's what we're talking about. So deals that normally in our industry and even in the rooms that we were always in, no one's ever talked about this. They're like, no, that's a dead deal. We don't do anything with it.
Well, there's no solution for it.
Exactly. So I knew there, I was like, dude, I'm pretty good for whatever reason at solving these complex things, right? And I was I was referred to by a good friend of mine who's done deals forever. He's been in the game for 21 years. Most creative guy I've ever met in terms of dealing with these shit properties. And he was like, dude, let me give you. I called him one day. I had all these deeds, and I was figuring them out like little by little,
Right.
but I didn't have like a process for them. I call it alligator. Like, that's just how we were figuring out. And he's like, dude, I've used these consultants before on a lot of my hairy deals, and these guys are studs. And I was like, hey, can you make the intro? He's like, yeah. And I did, and I spoke to them. And the first deed that I brought to them, I won't say addresses, I won't say names, but it was in Miami Gardens, and I remember bringing them the deed. 3 people in our masterminds, by the way, again, I won't say any names, that are experts, told me, can't be done, dead deal, nothing you can do. You can't do it with a POA. You has to be the owner, all this bullshit that were myths in our industries.
Yeah.
So for a year, I tried to do this deal before this. And these dudes, the first day, I was like, hey, can you just do me a favor? Can you just take a look at this? I know I'm probably wrong, but just tell me. And the next day he called me. He's like, dude, you can absolutely do this. And this is exactly how we're going to do this. I'm like, no shit. And whatever. That deal ended up turning from a dead deal to a $175K deal net. Okay. Yeah. I also found insurance proceeds through that deal because they taught me how to do that. So by the second one, the third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, now these guys are like my guys. And I'm watching, we're popping off 6-figure deals almost every single time.
What were these guys old time creative real estate guys?
No.
Or were these
I'll tell you exactly who they were.
badass real estate attorneys?
No, they were loss mit guys. So for 21 years, all they've done is loss mitigation. And what I mean by that is short sales, bankruptcies, trustee sales, right? All this stuff. And they've come up in the servicer industry from the bottom all the way up to the tippy top, which is Fannie Mae, right? But very important to note, the last 8 years of what they've done before they became consultants, they worked for Fannie Mae and wrote all the HUD guidelines for 8 years. So when I tell you that these guys know more about what's in these mortgages and the clauses and the regulations and the ninja stuff than the attorneys who put them together, that's putting it lightly.
Right.
I mean, I've seen these guys put attorneys to shame that they're like, no, you can't do that.
Well, if you're the one that writes the laws.
Correct.
That's what you're saying here.
So
Or writes the rules.
yeah, and they understand it like at a very, like the same way that we understand when we look at a deal and we're like, it's a deal or it's a no deal. It's intuitive. It's a second nature. With them, it's I know the servicer, I know the department, right, whatever. But to tie all this together, by the 6th deal, I made them an offer to partner and buy their company. They said yes because they wanted to be a part of something bigger. And I kind of like, I connected the dots being in the rooms that we're in. I was like, man, nobody in our industry is solving this problem at a high level.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody teach this kind of stuff. I've never seen anybody approach this kind of stuff. Everybody always runs away. And I'm like, that's my niche because I've been doing that for 5 years. Let me just formalize it and let me build a business, a legitimate business around.
So first question that comes to my mind,
yeah,
and you're talking to these guys, is they see something that you have.
Yep.
They are massively skilled at one thing.
100%.
How to mitigate the loss. But they don't know how to source the deals.
Correct.
So it's kind of like, a lot of the wholesalers are afraid to talk to people with money. It's like, they have the money.
Yeah.
Right? But it's like, yeah, but the people with the money don't know how to get the deals.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're talking to like some of the smartest guys, or in this niche, the smartest people. And their problem is, I need someone to bring me the deals.
Correct.
So when you came in and like, hey, here's what I bring to the table, they were salivating.
Yeah, because again, I compare it to like artists, right? Like an artist is an amazing, they are artists, right? In the sense that they're tacticians. They know their stuff, dude. They're artists. They could write the best song, right? Things that I can't do and you can't do. But they don't understand marketing. They don't understand how to attract the deals in. They don't understand the actual ground and pound of like, hey, this is Mr. Seller. This is how you talk to them, get the deed, and bring it home, right? So it was just the meeting of the minds was perfect. Also volume, I mean, I just saw the play, but I was like, dude, we could do like 500 deals a year. There's no question.
Which is now low.
Which is now low because we're tracking on 1,000, right? And I think that number is even low because it keeps moving. But they saw it and they wanted rather than to work. And this is why, like, very important, where an opportunity meets kind of preparation, right? People call it luck. It's kind of true. I don't believe in luck, but I had the 8 years of experience, and I had paid my dues for 7 in the masterminds. So I knew, dude, if I could get this strategy to work, and by the way, we can get into like my community and how I was already teaching them how to do that for a year and a half before that. So I knew, okay, not only can I do the deals, but I could teach somebody how to do these deals. And my best student had made 1.2 million at 26 years of age in Miami. So this is one of the most competitive markets in the country. I'm like, well, if that works,
Right.
then it has to work, right?
Sure.
So I showed them that side. I'm like, and they didn't want to work with 40, 50 different clients. They wanted it to be simple. And I said, well, we'll be partners and we will be the client.
Kind of like hedge funds. They don't want to work with like
Correct.
100 different wholesalers. They want like 3 to 5. In this instance,
Yeah.
they want one interface.
One interface. And again, we're tying in technology behind it, SaaS and all that. There's data that we can talk about. I mean, this thing has grown into 30 different directions, right? And directions meaning like verticals within the space. The ultimate end goal is to standardize the process of loss mitigation in America.
So we're going to hold off on that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your first deal that you did with these guys.
Yeah.
What was the first deal? Like,
So it was a deed that I owned, and I had owned it for, I think, like a year before. So I'll give you the specifics if that's what you're looking for. So it was a reverse mortgage, probate, needed to be done, one heir, and the property was fire damage. Okay, so if you're looking for triggers, that was that's what I told you. Like the hair, like all of our deals have hair, but like ding ding ding, that's like a trifecta, right? And it had violations from the city, right?
of course.
It was about as bad as it gets, right? Condemned house, I mean, you name it, right? And the interesting thing is, and this is like what proved my theory too, that house had been sitting in that condition for 5 years. So the fire had happened like in 2018 or something.
Yeah.
This is Miami Gardens in Miami, Florida, which is arguably the hottest market in Miami, right?
So for context, everyone is listening. Like, this is a nice part of town.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I'm not.
No, it's still it's kind of, it's changed, but it's where Rick Ross is from, like Carroll City.
So this is a good part of town, not good of town?
Yeah, it's all right. It's working class, let's say.
Okay,
Yeah.
so somewhat desirable.
It's just very hot for flippers.
Okay,
Like the
flippers.
hottest. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So now, but it's been sitting there and no one wants to touch it.
Correct. And when you look at it, and I remember the lady coming in, because we had bought it a year before. I remember the lead coming in like it was yesterday. And, the conversation was very common for, people that are listening. Well, where do I go get started? The conversation was, it was an heir, and I believe she came in through direct mail or cold calling. Don't quote me. But she came in and she's like, nobody can buy this. Like, my mom left, with a reverse mortgage. It's got liens. It's got a fire damage. Like, there's nothing you can do. People have tried. And whenever I hear that, I had done enough already where I'm like, well, how about if I give you $2,500 for the deed and I take on this problem? She's like, done. So I did. We bought the quitclaim deed with a POA, a limited power of attorney.
So why were people not able to get it done?
Because they didn't understand how to do the loss mit side, period. There's also a lot of myths behind it. Like, reverse mortgages can only be mitigated to 95% of appraised value. That's bullshit.
So, because I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
right, this lady comes into my office.
Yeah.
Here's my problem.
Mhm.
Reverse mortgage, fire damage, inherited property, this and that. Right? For me, I would just go straight to short sale.
Right?
Why? Like, no one thought that was an option, or why is that not an acceptable option?
I think it ended up being a short sale.
Okay.
That's the short of it. But, no pun intended. But the first obstacle was, well, I have to do a probate for her. So, no, I don't think anybody was willing to risk it on a fire damaged property to put up the money to do the probate. One. Two, no one I know, other than one other guy that's been doing this for 20 years, would have thought of, let's buy the deed first. Right? Normally, it would have been like a contract, right? And then the seller can back out, and then you run into all the issues that we have.
Right.
So I think that there was a couple layers of problems before even thinking about, you had to clear title first in order for the probate to have worked and in order for the short sale to have worked.
Right.
For the bank to deal with you.
Sure.
So that's what I knew how to do. But again, it was very simple. I mean, it was deed,
Right.
POA.
So $2,500, and she signs over the deed to you. Right. Notarized,
The whole nine.
recorded. So on the tax records,
I'm the owner.
William Dennis, or whatever company you had,
The land trust, yep.
is the owner of the property.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. And you
do
could
that.
do that or not do that.
You do that, you get a limited power of attorney. What does a limited power of attorney do for you?
It's a great question. So the limited power of attorney, one of the secret docs that we found to why so many, man, you're going to like unlock so many things here, but, and I don't know which direction you want to go in here, but short sales. So like, I'm going to just drop some stats here.
Yeah.
Okay. About 75% of short sales in America fail.
Of course.
Okay. That's a fact, by the way. That's not me making it up. You look them up.
No,
it's a stat.
they're difficult to execute because you have a lot of moving parts. You got homeowners that are erratic. You got banks who don't know their ass from their head.
Right.
You got like 70 different people that touch the file at the bank and they don't talk to each other.
And exactly. So I'll tell you the number one reason. There's two reasons why short sales fail.
I'm filming this video for the man himself, Mr. Ian Ross. The guy crushes. The guy's the best person in sales I've ever seen. I've invested elsewhere and I haven't got the same results. I've gone from being a seller, making 5K a month, to being a hybrid role, making 11K a month, to now be 4 months down the line from 5K to on a closing opportunity, inbound, full calendar, with the best opportunity, the best offer in my space. OTE is around 20K a month from month 2. So I've gone from 5K to 20K. If that's not a return on your investment, I don't know what is, man. If you're a salesperson and you don't invest in sales training, you're gonna get left behind because your job is to be better at sales. And sales training directly makes you more money.
My name is Lance McCann. I have recently switched sessions with Ian Ross. Those conversations with Ian has made me $50,000 in the past 2 deals that I've had. I was able to renegotiate, go back and renegotiate the original purchase price on one deal, and I saved $40,000, and I got another $10,000 off my other deals. Call Ian, give him a chance. You won't regret it.
If you like what you just heard and you'd like to have similar types of results, similar success, text CLOSE, CLOSE, to 33777, and we'll see if you qualify to join Advanced Sales Mastery. We are taking people from good to great.
This is why short sales fail, 75% of them. Number one, bad documentation, meaning you submitted the wrong docs. Number two, bad processes. You didn't know where to submit the right docs, but you don't even have the right docs. So what we've figured out is if we have a POA, which is how we teach this, well, you can negotiate on behalf of that heir or seller day one. It's a third-party authorization letter. That's something that our Lossmith team does, prepares for you and everything.
Sure. Yeah.
That speeds up the short. Dude, you know how long we're taking for short sales? 45 days flat.
Pretty good.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The industry standard is 6 to 7 months.
Still?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, dude, the best short sale specialists in our groups tried these. They took 4 months just to get a denial.
Yeah.
We got this deal done at 180K profit almost in 47 days.
Yeah.
It's unheard of. So the POA really takes away. You try going back to an heir 67 documents later. Hey, I need you to sign this. I need you to sign this. That's why they fail.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. And then the second reason why they fail and why it was taught the wrong way before I started teaching the whole deed thing was even if you got a contract, now the seller can die, literally. The seller can change their mind. They're erratic. They could go ghost, right? And that's the problem with our industry. People are like, oh man, now you got to go sue a seller who's already in a shitty situation, and good luck with that.
Right.
While the bank is foreclosing. Well, if you have the deed, you no longer need that seller. It's over, right? So the short answer is control. That's how we're able to be so successful.
Got it. So in that scenario, I mean, you're talking about a short sale, and you're also saying you're talking about, the 180K. Those two things don't necessarily go hand in hand. Normally, short sales, like seller might get between 3 and 15,000. Maybe if we did a killer job.
Yeah.
Right? You're talking about doing over 6 figures.
Yep.
How does that happen?
We're that good. That's the short of it.
Yeah.
But so the seller got her $2,500, right? We are now the owner. Just keep in mind. Short sales have to be double closes, right? All that stuff, because you can't assign short sales. But basically, we understand, and this is what we do. That's why you partner with us, because we're the best at the Lossmith side, which is we know how to call for those appraisals. We know how to appeal those appraisals or the BPOs, depending on the servicer. So when the appraisal came in, the ARV is 520 of that property. This closed 4 months ago or something. ARV is 520. The debt from the reverse mortgage was 311. Automatically, without even trying, we got it down to a payoff of 218. So it's fire damage. So it needs about 100K worth of work.
Right.
But we can agree that 520 to 218, you got a deal.
Right.
Cool. We got the liens kind of mitigated. It was a bunch of BS, compliance, whatever, and like grass and stuff. This is where it gets crazy. So my guys know how to look for, you know what forced place insurance is?
No.
So forced place insurance is like when a seller stops paying their mortgage, their insurance is tied into that. So what happens when they go into foreclosure? Their insurance stops.
Or the bank picks it up.
Right. Do you think the bank just leaves it there? No. So there's called forced place policies, where all banks have like this umbrella kind of policy,
Yeah.
and they put it onto that property because they have a $300,000 loan.
Yeah, they
If
got to
it
protect
burns
themselves.
down, which it did in this case, right? That covers it.
Right.
So check this out. Fannie Mae had received an insurance check for $75,000 for this property,
Right.
which belongs to the estate, which is now me.
Right.
So there's your 218 payoff. Knock off 75,000 again from the 218, so whatever that brings you down to, like 150 or something, 140 something. Land value alone was 200, right? Then you take it a step further. We got a public adjuster to appeal the 75K because the actual insurance payoff amount
Much larger.
was much larger. So we got it appealed to 125. So now you created a 125 spread plus the short sale payoff. There you end up with a 175K.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, we do that all the time.
All right. So how long until, because the short sale, is it still from the heir to you during that transaction?
So the short sale is from the lender to the estate.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, but the estate has transferred its deed to you.
Correct. We probated it.
Right. Now, you own it, get all this done, and now you're doing the work and flipping it, or you just
I slapped it on the MLS and
sold it as a fire damage property.
correct.
There you go.
So
Simple.
I hate fixing flips.
So the exit strategy, what's the term, right? All that matters, and when you're the easiest way to make money in real estate is to buy the deal right.
Right. When
Bought
you
the
buy
deal
a
right.
deed for $2,500, you're gonna be just fine.
Yeah,
You
you're
know,
doing all
obviously
right.
you have to know what to do on the back end. I'm not
Well, of
making it
course,
seem a little easy, but
of course. And then what was the next deal after that?
well, let me just say one thing on that deal because you said something, you owned it, right? And that's a very important distinction to pick up on. One of the things, so I had a massive tax bill in 2021, right? Personally, made a lot of money. Well, thankfully for me, I had bought a lot of deeds.
Yeah.
Well, what do you get to do with property that you own? You can depreciate it. So I had ended up with like $12 million worth of real estate that I could depreciate, either off your basis or off the debt. So when you own that deed day one, you can depreciate, even if you paid $0, but the debt is $311, you can depreciate $311 anytime the length of ownership. You can take it a step further. You can do a cost seg. You can depreciate it 5 to 7 years instead of 27 and a half years. So this is very important because I've ended up with like $30 million now worth of real estate, so I don't pay taxes legally. And that's how you do it, right?
Yeah.
So most people don't understand that. You really have to understand ownership and debt, right? And again, these are things that I found out kind of like, holy shit, you know, like that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that alone
It's worth it.
is worth listening, right? The buying a deed for $2,500.
Yeah.
Your first year, you're writing off more than $2,500 depreciation.
Oh, yeah.
So your profit
It was already there.
on day one.
Correct.
Yeah, you're net positive on day one.
For every million, but this is a rule of thumb, and again, I'm not a CPA, but this is a rule of thumb. Like for every $1 million or so that you own in real estate, give or take, there's a lot of variables, but you're going to get anywhere from $25,000 to $40,000 per year in taxable depreciation.
Right.
For every $1 million. If you end up with 10 million, you end up with about $400,000 every year that you can write off.
Right.
My tax bill was fairly close to that one.
Yeah.
So thankfully, it's not.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right. So that was the first deal.
That was the first deal. Well, that wasn't
and-
the first deal I ever did, but that was the first deal with the consultants. Yeah.
Right. And so now we got, one of the things we talk about when wholesaling, like the very first deal you do, or like you watched Instagram, right? You see the cashier's checks, you see the guys in the Lambos and the Range Rover. Not the Range Rover, the Rolls Royce,
Yeah.
right? You see the Rolls Royce with like the sparkling ceilings,
Yeah.
which I still don't get personally. That's just me.
It's a cool feature. I don't have one, but
I don't get it. Anyway, I guess it's good for the gram. So you see all these people making money in wholesale, right? And then you start going down this road. It's like, is this real? And you get your first check, even if it's only like $1,800.
yeah,
It's
becomes
real.
real. Yeah.
It's real,
Yeah.
right? And something in your mind changes, and now you attack the game very differently.
Very.
Did you have that same experience here?
Yeah, I did.
Like you had proof of concept now.
The mind blowing thing. So the first deal I ever did, going back to without the consultants, going back to 2019, that deed I bought it for 5, I think, or 4, something like that. Oscar Sotelo, I'll never forget the seller. It was in Miami. Real big shit box, worse than this one. So I ended up buying that deed, and we did a quiet title, and then we made 87 grand like 90 days later. And I learned all this on the fly with my attorney. He was a stud, right? He had 20 years of experience. He's like, oh yeah, we'll do a quiet title. We'll just quiet the mortgage out. I was like, what? And the seller had a bankruptcy, but I was like, all right, this is crazy. Keep in mind, like this is 2019, 2 years into the wholesaling. So I'm like used to like a $10,000 wholesale at the time. Like 20 was like, what? Like we're going partying, you know, like that was a big deal. And then this thing hits at 87. I was like, you know, just right there. But yeah, in 20, when we started doing deals like this, the aha moment happened where it was like, because I've done I've done over 650 like wholesale flips, whatever, traditional. And I'm like, man, the amount of effort that was required here without swinging a hammer was impressive, you know? And then the time frame was very comparable, right? It was just a different skill set. So yeah, it definitely blew my mind. And of course, like I'm a quick thinker. Like I thought of the nation and I'm like, shit, there's probably millions of these problems around.
So you mentioned something just now before we get to the second property. Quiet title. Not everyone knows what that is. I didn't even learn about it until I want to say like 2020. So like you and I have a mutual friend. Yeah. Who taught me a lot of the stuff we're talking about here, not to this detail. Yep. Right. And he taught me about, you know, quiet title. Yep. To get rid of it.
I know who you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. So for everyone that's not familiar with quiet title. Yeah. Can you elaborate on what that is?
Yeah. So simply put, it's a lawsuit, right? And basically what you're doing is title is like a succession thing, right? And
chain of title.
Right. Your chain of title. And then also you have like mortgages and stuff, right? Encumbrances on it. So a quiet title is you sue, usually it's a lender that you know is dormant. And you, through that lawsuit, you can prove to the court, this lender didn't do X. There's a number of reasons, right? But like, oh, they didn't have the document, they didn't have the original note, they didn't have the promise, or whatever it is. And then you can wipe out that mortgage. Right. So you quiet the title, which means now you have clear title, hence quiet title. And that's basically what it is.
And like the best places was when we had these zombie houses.
I love zombie for it. We still get them.
Yeah. So what are zombie houses?
Yeah, so a zombie house, dude, I was on my community call today and I taught them that. But basically, so for anybody watching this, great lead ever. And if you ever see this, you should pick up the phone and call Steve or me or submit this deal to us. It's a winner 100%. So basically a zombie foreclosure or zombie title or zombie known, whatever you want to call them, the lender always services the taxes, right? Why? Because they don't want it to go to tax auction, because if it goes to tax auction, they get wiped out. Yeah. So lenders always escrow the property taxes. If you ever see a house with an open mortgage and tax delinquency, you need to find that owner, buy the deed, get a POA, and you can almost guarantee you that you'll wipe out that mortgage. Yeah. So that's a great little hack there. But that's a zombie foreclosure. So it's basically a dormant loan. Lender fell asleep at the wheel. You'll know because it's tax delinquent, or if it has an HOA sale, usually that's a good indicator too, and you can get those wiped out.
Yeah. So what I understand as well, whenever you're doing quiet title, is you can just do a publication in the newspaper.
Yes. Amazing.
You don't even have to notify the lender directly. I don't have to call William and say, hey, this mortgage that you have.
Nope.
I just have to publish it in the newspaper, and if they don't see it in the newspaper, that's their problem.
Correct. It's still law.
It's crazy that you could buy. I think there was someone that was like completely getting blasted. I think it was in Texas, where like he bought like this like $1.6 million mansion, and all he did was like he took it over and he just quieted the title. And everyone was like, "How'd you buy this house for like $2,000?"
We've done them.
Yeah,
we've done them.
Okay, so going back, so that was the first deal with the consultants.
Yep.
6 figures, first deal.
Yep.
Pretty good situation.
Pretty good, yeah.
All right. What was the next house you guys did?
So the next house was another, I think it was a reverse mortgage. 4415 is the address. No, 4450. Same thing. We bought it. Actually, another investor had it, and he left it. I knew the attorney, right? He had filed a lawsuit or whatever against the seller. And he said, and I quote, he said, I don't want it. It's a dead deal. And I said, no problem. So he had a default final judgment against the seller. I bought his default final judgment for $2,500.
Default as in like the performance?
Yeah, performance. Okay. Which I don't know why he sued the seller, because he should have pulled his lien and title search first, but God bless him. I bought the judgment for $2,500, and then I spoke to the seller, who, it was a reverse mortgage, and this is another myth for you. Most people think, oh, reverse mortgages go into foreclosure because someone died. Usually a death is where it triggers a foreclosure, because that's how they recoup their money. Not true. You can go into foreclosure on a reverse mortgage for missing a tax payment or an insurance payment.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot of people that are alive that are not dead, that everyone's like, oh, they're dead. That's why reverse. No, this guy had just missed 1 year of property taxes. Immediately, the reverse mortgage gets triggered. So you can, another myth for you, you can reinstate reverse mortgages all the time. And you can keep them as sub twos all the time. So that's another thing we do with the reverse flip method. So this guy, that was his situation. We ended up offering 10 grand for his deed. It's very important. We didn't give him the 10 grand up front. We got the deed in the POA. We gave him 0. We tied him to the end. But hey, once we figure this out successfully, you'll get your 10 grand.
Right.
So no problem. Because we stopped the lawsuit for him, right? We got the other investor out of the way. They did a short sale again. We created $111,000 or $108,000 worth of equity right there. The house was a little bit damaged. Forced place insurance came around again. So we actually filed the claim, and the claim was paid out. It was 57 grand. The rehab cost me 35 because I wanted to keep this as a rental. So I got paid 22 grand to rehab this home. Gave the seller the 10, right? There was a JV that brought me the deal, gave him 10. And then we ended up reinstating it for 11,000. It's a joke. And keep in mind, reverse mortgages don't have a monthly payment.
Right.
They're reverse amortized, meaning that it's tied into the back of the loan.
Yeah.
So this thing Section 8's for $29.50 a month net every single month. So this thing is clocking me in 30 grand a year. Plus it appraised at 450. There's another $500,000 of depreciation captured. So again, 6-figure deal. Saw that one, and then the third, fourth, fifth. It was.
Yeah, we don't have to go into all the rest, but
yeah. On market works like a charm too.
Yeah. So what does that mean?
There's a hack for everybody watching right now. Go into your market on the MLS and search up all active and pending short sales with over 100 days. Somebody fucked up. Short sales should not be taking 100 days.
Yeah.
So go to the agent. Our community is awesome at this shit. We're buying 3 to 4 of these a day around the country. You go to the agent. You offer to buy the deed and POA from the seller. They're guaranteed their commission because on a short sale, they're going to get paid anyway. And then we bring it in-house and we run it. That is the easiest sale you'll ever make.
Yeah.
Because the seller was not walking away with anything in a short sale situation. At best, a relocation fee, which could be like 5 to 10 grand.
Right.
That's basically what we negotiated the deed for. Yeah, so that's an easy one.
So we're talking about, you're doing 5 to 7 deals a day.
A day.
So those numbers sound unfathomable, unrealistic.
Yeah.
Right? How are you doing 5 to 7 deals a day? Obstacle I hear from newer wholesalers is finding buyers for their deals. Because unless you've built a massive buyers list or have a huge dispo team, you might struggle to move your deals. So when we started working with InvestorLive, we've been able to reach new buyers and sell deals faster at higher prices. We can see buyers in our area, their contact information, and with the new AI capabilities, connect with the buyers most interested in our deals based on the algorithms. We can also see who's clicked on our deals, how many pictures they clicked on, and how long they spent looking at it, and finally, what actions they took after engaging with our deals. We are now connected with thousands of buyers in our markets, and we now know exactly where we are with each deal and what next steps to take. If this sounds like something that would resolve or help your dispo process, I highly encourage you, go to the website, put in Disruptors for 10% off so you can focus on locking up deals and less time worried, stressed, and frustrated about finding buyers.
So through our community. So all we do is JV with our community, and basically we have a school community, which is awesome. I think it's at over 200 now. It's a small fee every single month. It's $297 a month, which is a joke for what you're getting. We have live training in there, live coaching. I mean, my sales director's in there, Juan. I'm in there. Justin Colby's in there, right? And then what's happened now is that the community is working with one another, so they'll JV deals with one another, and then ultimately, I wanted this to be as easy as possible, right? So there's a lot of power behind this community, very similar to like what Pace did, right, with the sub 2 and stuff like that. Except that these deals make a lot more money, but that's besides the point. The community feeds on itself. So we've taught these guys and girls how to go out and get the deed and POA, and then they just submit it. Then our team takes it from there and handles the rest. And at the end, we choose our exit. So a lot of the times we'll be like, hey, we want to keep this one. Well, we could wholesale this for 40 grand. So here's your 20, right? Or whatever the split is. And we'll put ours into the basis. They're shit happy, obviously. This lead was dead. Or sometimes they might want to keep it. That's cool with us too. You can buy it from our portion. You can keep it, right? We want this community to accumulate wealth too, we keep it as a sub 2. Maybe we just wholesale it And, our average deal is about 60K right now, right? In this community, which is like 3 times the national average.
Right.
So this community is where we were like, I didn't want to do marketing anymore. I wanted to teach people how to do this, and they can just funnel back in and we could do deals together. So I don't charge for coaching anymore, unless it's like really high-end one-on-one, which I rarely do because of time. But basically, this whole community is just doing deals with each other and actually making money.
Yeah. So I'm listening to the show, right?
Yeah.
I joined the community.
Yep.
And I learned from you how to source the deals. Not how to source the deals. Well, I guess how to find the deals.
Yep.
Right. And then I submit it to you.
Right.
And then now your team goes to work.
Yep.
And then I get access to the loss mitigation company.
So you do get to see part of it because of a SOC 2, not to get into the weeds, but it's like a very security thing because we're an approved vendor of Fannie Mae. So a lot of this information is sensitive. You're not going to be on all the email chains. We legally can't do it. But you do get updates throughout the entire transaction. I mean, we're fully transparent. You see the HUD, you see what we do. And actually, when we go to choose the exit, we don't choose it with you, but we consult you. And we're like, all right, look, we know that this is the best way for this deal. Maybe it's a wholesale, right? Maybe it's a novation, maybe it's a flip, right? And then we choose our exit and we continue.
Right.
Yeah. But it's basically the only thing you need to focus on is sourcing deals. Right. And I think we've coached a lot of people over the years, you and I, right? I think one of the biggest problems in our industry is everybody wants to be great at everything.
Yeah.
Right. And let's just be honest, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. And to run an acquisition department and then a disposition department and the marketing department and do all that crap, dude, a lot of people are not good at it because it's very difficult. But if all you have to focus on, go acquire these things and get the deed and POA and then submit them and get your checks at the end, you will make far more money that way and you'll be better at it. Then does it make sense?
Yeah. You do one thing and do one thing well, or do one thing at least consistently.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you take away all the risk.
So when is the right time to talk to you, right? Because we're talking about like, but we're talking like, if you have a wholesale deal, this is not what
it could be.
It could be.
It could be.
Okay, in what circumstances would it make sense?
Usually, what the users are going to understand more, or excuse me, the viewers are going to understand more, is a dead deal, a dead lead, a hairy deal, upside down, no equity, right? All those kinds of things. It's going to be pretty blatant when you have a seller where it's like, we can't wholesale this thing, we can't flip this thing, there's no equity in this thing.
Right.
That's a reverse flip.
Right. So
Pivot
basically,
the conversation.
It's going through your database and like,
Dead leads.
here are all the deals, here are all the sellers that we couldn't do anything with.
Great starting point.
Yeah. So, let's just say most of our dead leads are people that it's not a hairy deal. It's just they want to sell, but they don't want to go with a realtor.
Right.
We put a lot of those in the dead leads category.
Sure.
Are you saying you want to work with those too?
It could. It just depends on the equity situation and how realistic that seller is.
Yeah.
It's
So-
usually a pain thing where it's
Right.
stacked things on top. It's like they don't really have a lot of equity. You couldn't novate them, let's say, because
Right.
there's no spread there. Sometimes they'd have to come to this closing table with money. That's a great one.
All right.
You put money in their pocket, right? If it's an heirs with debt, meaning an inherited property that has debt on it, that's an amazing lead because not only did they inherit something that they can't afford, but now they inherited something that has no equity. I mean, shit, what a bad scenario to be in, right? And they don't know what the hell to do with them. Maybe it needs a probate, right? Those are great deals too.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then, how are you said you got a kid in there, 26 years old.
Yep.
1.2 mil.
Yep.
So talk to me. What's he doing?
That's doing this.
That's making this much money.
His niche within this niche, like he's only doing reverse flips, but he focuses on probates with multiple heirs in Miami-Dade County. Doesn't do any other county.
That's it.
He got 18 deals in the last 60 days. He actually had to stop sending probates to the probate attorney because he couldn't handle it anymore. So now he's got another problem to solve for, which I'm helping him solve.
Say that again.
He was getting so many deals in that were probates that the probate attorney was like, you need to calm down. There's 18 probates to do, like in one shot. Plus, this probate attorney is also my probate attorney, and now he's flooded. He's like, dude, I got like 50 probates going on right now. So the kid had to stop. His name is Oscar. He had to stop his marketing on the front end because he could not bring in more deals, which now we're solving for a different problem.
Gotcha. Yeah. So if someone specialty is probate.
Yep.
Now we're talking about getting Willy involved.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm trying to think, like there are a couple guys. Logan Fulmer comes to mind.
Yeah.
In I think he's in Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And then Uncle Carl. Or Carl Spielvogel.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he loves difficult title.
Oh yeah.
Right. Have you talked to him?
No, I haven't. Look, to be honest, like this thing has taken off like a bat out of hell. So guys and girls are like contacting us so much that we've set up webinars with basically all their communities. Yeah. There's a waiting list now, basically. I mean, there's always room that we can make, but the community is just like compounding on itself.
Right.
And there's so many of these. I mean, the family mastermind alone, there was like 30. It was just like, no, we want to do this. And I was like, all right, well, I only got so much time, right?
Right.
So yeah, but I'm happy to talk to anybody and anybody who's watching this. I was at boardroom and I presented in my breakout room, which you weren't in, sadly. But I presented in that boardroom and I was the only guy. I was like, I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to do a presentation about KPIs. Like right now, I don't have an ask in my business. The only thing I have is I want to present this opportunity to the freaking room.
All right.
Because I think everybody in this room should be doing this.
Yeah.
Like it's a disservice. I thought this is what the groups were for, you know? It's like, hey, we figured out some cool shit. Imagine Novations 10 years ago.
Right.
You would have been that guy that brought it, right? So I did, and dude, the room, a lot of the leaders were coming in during my presentation just to hear it because they were like, what the is going on here?
Right.
So a lot of those guys started doing deals with us, and then we've opened up commercial too because this works on the commercial side.
So talk to me about doing this in commercial.
So a lot of it is receiverships. So receiverships in commercial is basically like a trustee sale on the residential side.
Yeah.
We just don't call it receiverships. So it's when an asset gets placed into, think of it like a bankruptcy trustee sale, right? And now the receiver has a fiduciary duty, basically, to negotiate this asset.
Right.
A lot of problem mortgages too, right? People think that commercial don't have the same problems that residential has. Well, commercial owners die. There are probates in commercial. There's tax delinquencies in commercial. There's IRS tax liens in commercial.
Probably a lot of those.
A lot. Yeah. Which IRS liens, we love them. We negotiate the shit out of them. And after 7 years, you can wipe out an IRS lien.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. So we're going to post a URL, right, on the screen. We'll put it in the show notes. So if someone wants to find out more about this, they can go on the link. So what can they expect, right? They go to the link, they check out. What can they expect in working with you?
So they join the school community, number one. The reason for that is because we have it all centralized and the best education is coming in there. There's all resources library. Every single doc that we use is available to you there, meaning like the deed, the POA, the assignment of surplus, right? Everything. Everything's there. There are live coaching calls 3 times a week, right? We teach you how to bring people into the community and be affiliate yourself so you can make some extra income there, right? And the community can continue to grow. But basically, it's an ongoing community. If you went in, I'll show it to you after off camera, but it's so active. It's like one post will have like 30 comments, right? And people are like, this is going on nationwide now. So people are like, hey, I got this problem. Hey, I got this auction. Hey, and then another person will be like, oh, dude, I just ran into that. Oh, what'd you do? Well, I did this. And I'm always in there too, you know? Colby and I are in there chiming in. We're helping you get deals right across the finish line. Like one thing I hated about our industry was, and a lot of coaches are going to hate me for this, but they're like, oh, just pay me 20 grand and I'll teach you all the shit. And there you go. Right? On your way. And that's why people go and they fail. There's no one there to hold their hand. Right? Which is why I think Fortune Builders did so well because they actually stuck with their person, their client. With us, I've done the whole coaching model, but even the first student I ever coached was a JV model. We were going to JV the first 4 deals, 50-50.
Yeah.
That's what my coaching model was. And guess what happened? I had a huge success rate because my success was tied into their success.
Yeah.
Right? You didn't pay me some massive fee and it's like, well, I hope you get it. Yeah, because think about it, right? You remember being new. You go out there into the world, you have a seller tell you to go fuck yourself first day. You're like, oh my God, this is terrible, right? And now you got no support and you're like, what do I do? Yeah. And there goes that guy that helped you. So that's the biggest key. It's the continuity.
Right.
Where you're not gonna get like let down because you're consistently in there.
All right. So so this is, I mean, I can obviously sense the excitement.
Oh, dude, I'm pumped.
All right. Where do you see this going?
300 deals a month.
300 deals a month?
Yeah, that's the metric.
Gotcha. What's so since this is newer, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of a
No, it's not newer. It's new, Steve.
new.
It's
new.
brand new. There's nothing like it. There's
Right.
no mentor out there. There's nothing.
So what have been some of the biggest challenges? I mean, literally, right?
Oh,
Your
yeah.
intention is to disrupt,
Disrupted the shit out of this industry.
right?
Yeah.
So what have been some of the challenges you've had in growing this side? Because,
Oh, yeah.
you and I, we were talking about before the show started, like,
Mm-hmm.
these aren't necessarily new concepts.
Yeah.
It's just you know how to solve them better now,
Correct.
right? You're a better problem solver than you were 5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
than me right now. So, so you're solving new problems here. So,
Yeah.
what have been some of the challenges in trying to, get this message out there and helping other people inside your community execute on this? You spent countless weeks going back and forth with a homeowner only to lose a deal because the seller changed their mind, another wholesaler made an unreasonable offer, or what the seller needs from the sale, you just can't pay. Now imagine you've got the ultimate control on a property that you just locked up, meaning you're on title and every decision has to go through you, eliminating virtually every external threat. That's why the installment method was created. Through installment payments, you have full control of the property as your name is now on the title. Any decision the seller wants to make now has to be approved by you. No longer can they pull out equity, go with another buyer, or change their mind. Imagine combining the best of creative finance with the flexibility of marketing the property on the MLS to collect the most amount of revenue possible, all while having total control of the property. This is just the tip of the iceberg. The concept here is simple, but implementing is challenging. So visit wholesale2024.com to learn more so that you'll never have another deal blow up.
I think the real only challenge that we have is, there's a couple ones, right? Number one, educating that community, right? We didn't realize how, we kind of did, but not as much as how much education was required, which is why we created the school and we made like all these cool ass videos and we coach this every single week because it's a different concept, right? Everyone's teaching, well, go get a contract and then you wholesale it. This is go get a deed and a POA. It's like, what, most new people or even experienced people are like, what do you mean get a deed? What are you talking about?
Right.
You don't get a deed till closing. If you even know that, right? You never get the deed if you're assigning.
Right.
You're just making an assignment fee. So I think that was a little bit of a different concept, is that mindset of, well, how's a seller going to sell me their house for $2,000? I'm like, it happens 7 times a day, my man.
Yeah.
Every day, because you're going after the wrong seller. But when you talk, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. When you're talking to the right people that their problem is big enough, that's a no-brainer, because you're not buying the asset, you're buying their problem. And the relief is just take it, because I don't want to deal with this.
Get me out of here.
Yeah, just get me out of here.
What one of the lines I learned, right, in this particular world, which has helped me a lot,
Yeah.
is, Willy, how much are you going to need for you?
Oh, I love that.
Right.
I say that all the time.
Right. And he's like, here's how much I need. He's like, okay. And then now I just buy a subject to all of the problems.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But that's where the money is made, is solving the problems.
Framing is very important.
Yeah.
When a seller, just back to your point, when a seller's like, oh, well, I want $30,000. I'm like, I want 2 Ferraris. Yeah, but what do you need?
I always tell him I want a dunk.
Yeah, I want to.
Like you
Might be able to. I don't know.
No,
Stem cells. I don't know what's going on.
Not yet. Well,
Peptides, maybe. I don't know.
I haven't found the right coach for that. Or the right
Some guru is
supplements.
going to be like, you know what? I'm going to help you dunk. They're going to reach out to
Anyone out there that can help me dunk a basketball, you're welcome. Day one, like tomorrow, to be on the
He
show.
will do anything.
Right?
anything.
I'll make you famous.
He will he would bump me off the show and put you on there.
Yeah, we'll just move Willy back an episode, right? And we're gonna put anyone that can help me dunk.
If I ever see you dunk, I'm going to be like, God damn, he did it. How
did
tall
it.
are you?
5'10".
Oh, that's going to be tough.
The 5'10" is not the issue. It's the genetics. All right. So you said the greatest challenge for a lot of people that are joining the community is the concept of buying the deed.
Yeah.
So let's dive a little bit deeper into that.
Yeah.
So, because like we just think, right? If I'm going to buy a property,
Yeah.
I lock up the contract, I go to the title company, they got to clear title, we got to deal with the mortgages, the judgments, the assessments, the HOA, right?
Right.
All these things.
All of it.
And then we can clear title.
Yeah.
And then you sign, I sign, money changes hands, right? And it's all recorded through the recorder's office or whatever.
Right.
and that's when I get a deed.
Yep.
That's not what you're teaching.
Nope. You're getting the deed first thing.
So explain to someone that this concept is kind of melting in their brain at the moment.
Yeah.
How are you able to buy a deed? What does it mean to buy a deed?
So again, I think our industry has done a great job at overcomplicating all this shit. And of course, the coaches don't want you to know this, but at any given time, anybody who is a property owner, with or without a mortgage, contrary to popular belief, can sign a deed and transfer it over to you.
Right.
For literally $0. Legally, it should be $1 for consideration.
I think it's $10 for consideration.
10,
at least
it
in
might
Arizona.
be 10. Yeah, I think it varies state to state. But let's call it $10, even $100. So you're getting a $300,000 asset, average price in America right now. With debt, without debt, doesn't really matter. But you got it for $100. Okay? You never would lose. You will never lose. And period. Like ever. We're gonna figure it out. But yeah, it's very simple, man. You prepare the deed. We show you how to do this, by the way, in the community. We have all the templates and everything. We have videos for the templates. And community members will actually sit with you and help you, right? You prepare the deed, you prepare the POA. We tell you who goes on what doc, right, in detail. And then you schedule a mobile notary, or we will schedule it for you, or a RON, a remote online notary. They sign, that's that. And then another thing I didn't mention, a lot of people don't have the money or don't want to put up the money for the deeds. The 3K, let's say. Our average deal is about 3K for buying. Well, if you don't have it, we will front it, right? The only thing is we're going to collect 1.5x on the back end. Money's not free. I don't know why you thought it was, but it's not, right? And sometimes these things have like a 60, 90-day float period, but we will front it 100% in any state, by the way. We don't care. So that's another lever that we added to our community, because what I wanted to do, watching all the communities and all the education, I was like, dude, there's a lot of barriers here where people mess up, right? Like points of failure. And I was like, well, how can we make this as easy as possible? Well, let's just show them how to do it. Let's help them do it, the notary. And then if they need the money, let's just fund it too, right? And then we'll do everything on the back end, right? Because of course, selfishly, we want a deal flow. But people want to do deals.
Right.
So if you want to do that, and I always say this, man, I would rather own 20% of a watermelon than 100% of a grape. I see a lot of people in our industry walking around with a handful of grapes, and they look like dipshits. Right? All because they want to make 100% of every deal. Right. Because they think they're cool. Right? And I know because I've been there. Right? But the day that you open that up, like, I'm doing 1,000 deals a year. There's no way that I would do that on my own.
Right.
You know the size of the marketing budget I would need? It's staggering, dude. You and me and everybody, 10 gurus would need to team up just to do that. And the team would be like 150 people. Yeah. Right? Just to handle that bandwidth. So I think this strategy solved a lot of those issues, and I brought my intention into this community, which was how I scaled my business, which was lead with value. Yeah. I started my business by splitting my first 5 deals 50-50 with that first mentor. Nothing's changed, right? And it took me very, very far. Right? So I think that a community, a true community, can do a lot more damage together. Like that's a fact.
And they can do these deals with you.
Yeah.
And then they learn how to do it. They don't have to keep doing these deals with you.
No, I mean, again, we own the Lost Mint company, so and that's a very important distinction. Our Lost Mint company is not open for consulting, so you will only use our Lost Mint company if we JV.
You kind of have a bit of a monopoly here.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no shame in it.
No, I don't have any shame in it. This is America, but it's not a monopoly. I would see it more like if I owned the refinery, then I control the price of gas. Right. And I think it's a very fair deal. I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm giving you half, let's say, or even 40%, right? Depending which route you come in on, for the deal, which, let's be honest, it was worth 0 when you got it, right?
Right.
And it's twofold, even for...
So you're turning the coal and the diamond, and all you're asking for is half.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's pretty fair.
I don't think it's unfair.
No, I think it's super fair. I think it's... And I'm one of the few guys in this industry that's willing to put my money where my mouth is. Literally. Yeah. I will teach you how to do it. I will help you do it. My community will help you do it. My team will help you do it. And we'll even fund it for you.
And you'll pay for it.
And we'll pay for it on the back end. I mean, dude, that's like me telling you, I'm going to teach you how to fix and flip. I'm going to find the house and I'm going to put up the hard money loan. Yeah. You got to put up 0.
Yeah.
Say, why would you say no?
Yeah, right? There's not a person on a planet, I don't think, who doesn't have the money to flip, the contractors and that. It's like, hey, I've got this deal. Let's flip it together. You do all the work. You fund it. You deal with the contractors, and then you deal with the realtor, and then I get to keep half. I don't think there's anyone that would say no to that as a person sourcing deals today?
Absolutely not. Like, not to get biblical, but you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. You teach a man how to fish, he eats for life. Usually, that person who you taught how to fish is going to want to have you over for dinner. That's the way that I designed this community. Where I'm like, dude, we're going to win a lot more together.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee, like, I've paid 8 years of dues, right, to get here. All that knowledge is coming into that community, right? And my friends, right? My attorney hops on these calls. You want to talk about probate calls? I mean, I don't know any other guru or whatever that has their attorney or their tax strategist or the locksmith guys. I mean, they're on these calls. Right. You can drill them with questions. So I made the community very disruptive, for lack of a better term, because I didn't see that in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Even when we do live events, which we just had one, it's very intimate. We bring these people there.
Yeah.
And it's a no BS thing. It's like, dude, ask whatever freaking question you want. There's never going to be anything where we're like, oh, well, we can't teach you that because you need to be in our mastermind. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
We'll teach you right here. Most of them are not going to do anything with it. That's just the reality.
It's all there. So again, if you guys want to check it out, check out the link in the description or click on or scan the QR code right here on the screen. You mentioned something else.
Yeah.
Surplus. We didn't really talk about that. Right. And so again, we're going through all these different creative strategies that we don't really talk a lot about. Right. It's kind of low key.
Yeah.
So surplus.
Surplus is great.
What's surplus?
So a surplus, and again, this varies state by state, but basically a surplus is when, I'm just going to make up numbers, but let's say I bought a deed to a property with a POA and an assignment of surplus is the form that we would use. Let's say that what's owed on the property is $100,000, just for simple numbers, and the property's worth $250. Just say. It needs work, obviously, right? It's got issues. But it goes to tax auction or foreclosure auction. And it sells at auction for $160. An auction buyer, third-party buyer, buys it for $160. Well, what happens between the spread of the 100 to the 160? You know that it goes into a state fund.
It's supposed to go
to the seller,
to the homeowner, in theory.
In theory.
But
most people don't even know that law exists, one. Two, you get the assignment of surplus, and I think you're rightfully entitled to it because you resolved all the shit show that was there before, and you identified the opportunity. We would collect the $60,000, and we would split that with our JV.
Yeah.
So that's like doing a nice wholesale or a nice flip with no hammer. That's just paperwork.
Yeah.
But that's and by the way, it's funny for anybody watching this, like, wow, this guy. There's attorney firms literally across the country that's all they do.
Yeah.
Is market to homeowners that are going to auction, and they say, well, sign this assignment of surplus, and we'll take 40% of your surplus, but we'll find it for you.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think assignment of surpluses are great.
Yeah. Excess proceeds, I think, is another way
Correct.
to call it. And there are guys that teach it, but it's funny. I hear people I see these ads on Facebook every once in a while, right? Like we teach you how to do excess proceeds.
Yep.
But I don't really hear anyone talking about actually doing it.
Yeah. Not a lot of guys are actually doing it.
And not to say that it's not happening. It's just for whatever reason, it's pretty quiet, right?
It is. I mean,
I think I hear more people talking about doing notes than I hear about people doing excess proceeds.
Dude, real estate has like 40 different things that you can, dive into, like just off the top of our head, like residential. But like some of these things, like the reverse flip thing, that's like a niche within a niche within a niche.
It really is.
Right? Yeah, it really is. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I designed it that way because it was so many different deals with so many different patterns, with so many different scenarios, so many different lessons. And I'm like, man, we just package this thing up. But the common denominator was buy the deed, get the POA.
Yeah.
And then we'll figure it out. So the assignment of surplus is a real niche. Like that's like a one thing. But we've both heard the riches are in the niches. They really are. And I've ran a wide model, meaning I'll market to everybody with equity in 2021. And it's great, but it's not sustainable. One, two, I'd rather just do one thing, like I said, going back to the beginning, and do it the best.
Yeah.
You're gonna always make more money that way.
Yeah. Perfect. So again, guys, if you want to check out reverse flipping, go to click on the link in the description or scan the QR code, and then you guys can connect with Willy. This is fascinating. It's pretty cool to hear this resurface because, again, I learned all about this 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And then the market went crazy and it didn't really matter as much anymore.
We were doing it through that whole time.
But
yeah, because of equity.
It was easy money.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But now is the time where okay, the guys that are what's the word I'm looking for?
Actual investors.
Well, that know all the different ways, right? Because I love talking to the older guys because they know you can break up this deal in 7 different ways. Like, all right, like Willie, you get the appreciation, I get the depreciation, you get the cash flow, right? Like there's just all these different ways,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
And then like you're making the payments. It's just,
Yeah. No, listen, there's a place, especially the bigger the deal, right? But
Yeah.
the more complex the deal, the better it is on the back end. That's just been my theory, and I've proven that theory hundreds of times at this point. People in our community are proving that theory. They're like, dude, I would have never in a million. And it's funny to watch them. They're like, this was dead in my CRM for like 6 months. And I'm like, yeah, and you just bought the deed for $1,500. Like, how does that feel?
yeah.
Hey, I can't believe it. And I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, because no one's teaching it.
Yeah.
But I'll say this, going back to the marketplace, where we're at in the market right now, like the craziness that's happened in the last 4 years or so, this strategy, and you can quote me on video, this strategy will explode in the next 2 years. There's no doubt, because the chickens will come home to roost on what happened from 2020 to now.
Yeah.
You know, we're already seeing it with interest rates. Dude, we just bought one the other day, I think like 2 or 3 days ago, a guy in our community that we're JV on, 2023 build, Lennar home in Lando Lakes, Florida, $2,500. That's a free house. And it's a beautiful vintage property that a hedge fund would take from us at 110 cents on the dollar. We're not going to do that. We're going to keep it.
Right.
But you're seeing this, that loan was 10 months old and the person's defaulting. It's a 6% interest loan, right? So you're seeing it on new properties, old properties, shitbox properties, clean properties. A lot of these, don't make any mistake about it, some of these have equity. You know, a lot of these look decent, meaning we could do a reverse flip, paint, patch, just throw it right back on the MLS. We have one like that in Miami, which is like 110, 120, something like that, which was a listed short sale. It was sitting on the market for 4 months. And the realtor said, and I quote, "We already got an approval and it doesn't work." We went back, got it reapproved at 100K less.
Yeah.
Riddle me that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Perfect. What are some last thoughts you want to leave all the listeners with?
I always do this question, and it's good because it makes me ponder. If you're not in the game, I think you should definitely get in the game. If I could go back, I might be biased, but if I could go back to 2017 and I would have just learned this, if reverse flipping would have existed, I would have cut all the bullshit out of the wholesaling. Yeah. I would have done all that, and I would have been a tactician from day one. I would have learned to solve a bigger problem. And that's what I'm saying to your community. Like the 20% of a watermelon versus 100% of a grape, dude, that's a metaphor to life for me. And that's made me more successful beyond my wildest dreams. I think it's hilarious when I run into people that are hoarding every single penny and they don't see the collaboration, you know?
Yeah.
But if you want to summarize it to one quote, I'll summarize it to you in this. Amateurs compete, professionals collaborate. That's it.
There you go.
Yeah.
If someone wants to connect with you, how's the best way for them to do that?
With me personally? So Willy Numbers on Instagram, that's my heaviest platform. It's Willy Numbers with a Y on every single platform. The reverse flipping link that you're gonna put. Do you want me to say it or?
We'll post it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's the best way to connect with the reverse flip community, like everything that we're talking about, the school, right, and all that stuff. But Instagram is my best platform. WillyNumbers.com is also my the main page. But I personally communicate on my Instagram. Yeah. Don't be blowing me up with random stuff. Don't be that guy. Or asking for my number.
Yeah. All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Appreciate
it. Good catching up, as
Likewise,
always.
man. Likewise.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you, guys.
Steve Trang. Jump on the Steve Trang. Disruptors.